ESPN is in the middle of an unhostile takeover. All right. They're in the middle of an unhostile takeover. Why do I say that? Every time you randomly turn on ESPN, you're gonna see women on the screen. Either it'll be like 2 men and 1 woman, that's 33%. Or you'll see 2 men and 2 women like you see here. That's 50%. Or you'll see something like this: 3 men, 2 women. Okay. That's 40%. Then they got shows where it's 100% women. All right. Now, at face value, that's not a big deal because they talk a big game about diversity. We need diversity and diversity. They're basically saying we need to hire more women on ESPN. Here's the catch. Here's what a lot of people don't average into the equation. If you look at people who got degrees in sports journalism, all right, look at people who got degrees in sports journalism. That's 80% male. Okay. If you get a degree in sports journalism or anything in that realm, those fields are 80 and 85% male. To work for ESPN, that is the Super Bowl. That's like making it to the NBA. To be on TV for ESPN, that's the non-athletes professional sport. Basically that's going pro for non-athletes. Basically, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's really when it comes to sports, that's the second best job in the world. The best job is being an athlete. The second best job is talking about the athletes, flat out, hands down. 80% of the 80 to 85% of the people that go to college to get degrees that put you in the pipeline to get this job that only a small percentage of people get, 85% men. And then you look at the mere fact that the majority of people that do it are former athletes. Like look at like the two brothers right there, former athletes. I don't even know who that Dan Orlovsky is. He probably a former athlete too. So look at all the thousands upon thousands of ex-NFL players, the thousands upon thousands of retired NBA players, MLB, NHL. They all want that job. And then that small percentage of female athletes, because there's not as many professional female athletes, they want the job too. But just the sheer numbers of how many NBA teams it is, MLB teams, NFL teams, and how long those franchises or teams or sports organizations have been in place, it makes it to where that 80 to 85% of men who go into sports journalism who are competing for those ESPN jobs, when you average in the pro athletes competing for that job, that makes it to that bumps it up well into the 90s of everybody who's competing for those jobs. All right, that bumps it into the 90s of when it comes to the percentage of men competing for that job versus women competing for that job. But when you turn the shit on, you see 50% women on the screen. You see 40% women on the screen. You see 33% women on the screen. And in some cases, you see 100% women on the screen. You want to know what that means? That means women have an unfair advantage. If they're making up less than 10% of the applicants, but at any given moment, they're 50% of the employees. They're overrepresented in those fields. We got to average that into the equation. So they're already overrepresented. They're making up 7% of the people that apply for the job. They're making up 7% of the people that apply for the job, but at any given moment, they're 33%, 40%, or 50% of the people on the screen, which means they got an unfair advantage of getting in the game. And now they're in the game and they're trying to police men that's been in the game for 30 years about how they're responding to a situation involving a man who just got suspended. Like, let all that sink in. That's what I'm talking about with the ESPN unhostile takeover. They have taken that they've executed an unhostile takeover of ESPN. And even when Mark Cuban got under that fire about all the sexual harassment that was going on at his organization, Rachel Nichols, who was one of the other women on ESPN, you don't know what she told her after they fought and got, they were overrepresented in terms of anchors, analysts, and sideline reporters, and even referees and all that they're overrepresented and all that. But you want to know what she told Mark Cuban? She actually fixed her mouth to tell Mark Cuban, well, if you want to eliminate sexual harassment in your organization, the best way to do that, and it's proven the best way to do that, is to hire more female executives. Have more female executives. that's how you get rid of all of that. That's what she was basically telling him in that discussion right there. And Mark Cuban obliged, and he hired a black female CEO, and then in turn they hired 40% female executives. So in the sports world, basically that's what we talk about. Men build it, and then women do an unhostile takeover of it. Like that's essentially what's happening in a lot of sports organizations. Is definitely what's happening in ESPN, to the point to where Stephen A., a 30-year vet, been covering this shit longer than what Malika Andrews have even been alive. Covering it longer than what she's been alive. And by the way, she's sitting in that picture. She's looking at LeBron like she want to get Me Too by LeBron. So she can put her little fist in the air down, trying to ride for the women who had consensual sex with Udoka. She knowing damn well she would like to be harassed right now. You can see it in her eyes. she would love to jump off a Me Too moment right there. But anyway, that's the thing. That's the thing. So a full unhostile takeover took place with ESPN, to where Stephen A. Smith, who's been doing this longer than what this chick been alive, he's been covering this stuff. She thinks she could pull up and G-check him on what's going on and how he's covering the story about a brother whose name getting dragged through the mud over some consensual sex. She thinks that she could G-check him on how he cover it. That's some bull.